Production funding for Living Smart with Patricia Gras is underwritten in part by Halliburton.
High crime rates, low educational achievement, poverty levels going up. Are we our brother's keeper? Learn why philanthropist and entrepreneur Michael Holthouse spends millions on children. Next on Living Smart. Hello, I'm Patricia Gras. Welcome to Living Smart, the show designed to help you get the most out of life. On our show today, we'll talk to philanthropist and entrepreneur Michael Holthouse about what his plans are for 200,000 children in Houston and why he cares about their future. Have pen and paper ready. We'll give you a list of resources at the end of the program. When he was young, Michael Holthouse asked his grandfather the key to success.
And he said it's enthusiasm. What if we put a background of white? It's the magic. It's all tied together. Very fun. It's the spark that makes everything happen. And I believe him.
Michael took that to heart and put it on his license plate.
My doctor's going to love this.
Though he appears to be a regular guy, he sweats, works hard, and his family comes first. He's also one of Houston's top entrepreneurs. Tell me about Intuitive Homes.
Well, Intuitive Homes is just the coolest company on the planet. We do home automation and control systems.
His latest business venture is a bit like him, innovative and highly technological.
This is our home in Aspen, real time as we speak. We're going to zoom in to the left-hand garage door and actually open that up.
A self-described nerd, Holthouse made his fortune with Paranet, a computer network services company.
Over the course of 6 years, we went from 2 people to some 1,400 people with offices in 27 different cities in the U.S. When we ended up selling the company to Sprint, all of the employees were the stockholders. This is a 67 Picasso.
And Holthouse became an instant millionaire. This was no surprise to his family. He was raised in the Midwest, the oldest of 4 children.
And grew up on a small little farm, and my family had a little chain of furniture stores.
His parents instilled certain values.
Integrity, hard work, discipline, being trustworthy, always telling the truth. You know, there's something to be said for Midwestern values. If I were to choose lighting, it shows all of the lights that are on or off in this area. All I have to do is press all on, and every single light in this part of the house turns on without affecting any of the rest.
But most likely personality, not genes, accounted for his love of gadgets and computers. In college, he was so well versed with them, he ended up running the computer department at his university, with 26 employees working under him.
Should we skip?
Today, Holthouse can enjoy the fruit of his labor with his second wife, Lisa, and 3 children. This after some soul-searching. His first marriage ended right after he sold Paranet.
I was completely consumed with the company. I want to build a successful company, receive and obtain some financial success out of all of that, which would open up doors for us and give us a chance to do other things, which it has done. But there was a portion of my children's lives that I wasn't as involved as I sure wish that I could have been.
He has since made up for it by becoming Super Dad.
I mean, I was Cookie Mom for the Girl Scouts, and, you know, what dad is Cookie Mom? and so I would coach the teams, and I go to not all their practices, but I go to all their games, and I get involved at the school.
That's because Holthouse admits he's a kid at heart, and children his top priority. Always the visionary, he wants to impact each middle school child in Houston, and he's putting his own money where his heart is.
Kids are our future. And so that's what we're really trying to impact through character education and life skills, be able to help these kids take control of their own lives, decide what's important to them and where they want to go, and create the next generation of entrepreneurs in our city.
His Holthouse Foundation for Kids began doing so by funding the Boys and Girls Club in the East End, among many other projects. John Havard is the president of the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Houston.
Without private funding from individuals, you can't make it happen because government money is limited. Corporations, there's been so many mergers, and corporate money is not what it was at one time. And it really is up to individuals, people like Michael, not only from the standpoint of funding an operation like this, but also serving on our board.
Holthouse and his wife Lisa don't just write checks. They're both hands-on and like to spend time with the kids.
It's funny.
Best friends Jesus and Nathan have both participated in many of the after-school programs funded by the foundation. Both grew up in a tough barrio and could have been headed for trouble until they became involved. Now both plan to go to college.
It definitely makes a difference that somebody that I don't even know takes the time to fund all these programs for these kids that are less fortunate in the area that we live in.
We want to get our community to take ownership of this and be in every single middle school in and around Houston. 100 middle schools, about 200,000 kids. Big goal, but I can't think of anything that would have a greater impact on our community than taking the next generations of Houstonians and preparing them for life.
Michael Holthouse, thank you so much for joining us. It's
Thank
great to
you,
have you
Pat.
here. Now, you obviously care about at-risk kids. You've obviously noticed the problem about what's going on with children today. What do you think these problems are? What are you trying to tackle?
Well, simply put, our community, families, society is not preparing our kids for life. Sure, all of us know that we've got to have a good education for our kids. And most people think that education is strictly reading, writing, arithmetic. The government's responsible for that. But the single most important part is the social, the emotional part, the EQ rather than the IQ.
The emotional intelligence.
Right, where we're, it's where we make good decisions. We learn to communicate, to work in teams, to get along with others, to decide our future story and take steps in our lives to take ownership of our lives.
Right.
That's what's not happening.
You could care about so many other issues, though, but you chose this one. You chose at-risk kids, which is really a huge challenge. Why?
Well, we could save the whales. I mean, as you pointed out, there's
and
a million things. Well, I love whales. No reason not to do that. Many people live in the past, some in the present, and some in the future. It's really simple. It sounds silly, but our kids are the only future that we've got. And so if we're going to make Houston, Texas, the greatest city on the planet, well, how do we do that? We do that through our kids. And if we give them the right kind of guidance and the right kind of opportunities, we will be amazed at the things that they create for us right here in Houston.
Let's talk about Prepared for Life, because you've created that organization. What are your goals with this organization, and how does it apply to your programs, your after-school programs?
As the name implies, we want to prepare kids for life. School does a wonderful job in helping you read and write and learn history and all of those things. But it has always been the role of the family to provide morals, spirituality, life skills, and a set of values that they'll operate within. If you look at society and the crime rate and teen pregnancy and family abuse, I mean, there are plenty of bad things going on. It all boils down to what have we learned from our parents, and how are the kids taking control of their own lives.
Mm-hmm. You've learned about the developmental assets that are needed for these kids too. I mean, I know you've been researching to do the right thing, and you want these programs to be held accountable. What are some of those developmental assets that you're working with for these kids?
The Search Institute out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, created this wonderful list called the 40 Developmental Assets. And this list is really a guideline for parents to look at what are the assets that we need to provide for our children to help them become successful in life.
Right.
Things like honesty, integrity, spirituality, relationships with not just their parents, but adult role models. I mean, if you read this list, you go, oh, well, I know that. I mean, this isn't a breakthrough list, but it is something that it's a real simple kind of formula.
Right.
The more assets kids get, the greater success they'll have. The fewer assets, greater likelihood they become a liability to our community.
Did you start out with Boys and Girls Club, or did you have something in mind when you started out?
When I sold Paranet in '97, we immediately started the Holthouse Foundation for Kids. And our target from the beginning was around at-risk kids, helping kids that are as bright and capable as anybody, but for a whole host of reasons don't have the same kind of opportunities, the same kind of experiences. So we have done literally 8 years of research, flying around the country, more time on the internet, reading books and documents to really try and understand what is the core nucleus of the problem. Because you can address symptoms all day long and you really don't get anywhere.
Right.
And I've been on the boards of many different organizations. All of them have some impact. Some have far greater impact than others.
Right.
And it really kind of gelled together that we have this enormous opportunity in after-school programs. I mean, the kids are already at school to prepare them for life. And so we have these really fun, fantastic programs that are just filled with all of these life lessons around entrepreneurship and projects and how do you succeed at life. It is so much fun.
I wanted you to share some of that about some of the skills that you teach them in the after-school programs.
Well, when you think about the Beaver Cleaver family and TV from the 1950s, where they're talking about character and values and making the right decision and honesty, one of the key things is helping children develop a future story.
Okay.
Some people would call that a vision for life. I want to go to college. I want to be a brick mason, whatever it happens to be.
Whatever they want to do.
They have to take ownership of their own life and then decide where are we going and how are we going to get there. Because ultimately, it's their responsibility. They own their own lives. And if we can teach them to do that, I mean, you've been around kids. Once they make their mind up on something, can you convince them otherwise?
Stubborn. That's right.
Well,
so you're helping them make that decision. And you are a goal setter. I mean, you make each one of these kids set their goals.
We give them every opportunity in the world for them to set their own goals. Kids are so smart. They learn so quickly that we don't give them enough credit. If they're given the opportunity to see beyond just their neighborhood, I mean, what are in some of our poorest areas of the city, what are their role models? They're drug dealers, they're gangsters,
yeah, we know, and they're not good.
It's the dark side of the force.
Right, the dark side.
But we got to expose them to all the other opportunities that are out there as well so that they can make good decisions.
And we've talked about this. You are an entrepreneur, and you want those kids to learn to be entrepreneurs more than anything else. Why is that?
Preparing them for life is about preparing them to set goals and then take systematic action towards getting there. And it's about experiential learning. And that's what entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs are risk takers. They decide there are customers to be served, and we're going to take steps to serve them better than anybody else is going to do it. And yes, that's a concept that's a business concept, but it's also a life concept. It's these life skills that our grandparents were talking about that make all the difference.
And you talked about immigrants and how Houston is a city of immigrants and why they have that mentality. When you come to America, you kind of have to be an entrepreneur. And most of these kids are minorities.
Well, that's certainly true. America is a land of immigrants. We've had massive changes here in Houston in demographics, and we have lots of new opportunities in front of us. If we take that opportunity as a community to bring these children, whether they're Latino, Hispanic, Asian, Vietnamese, European, whatever they are, and we help them understand how our economic system works, well, there's nothing holding them back. I mean, it's just lack of exposure. And so through Prepared for Life's after-school programs, we take what their interests are. We have this one class that's really cool. We wanted to get a number of folks involved in classes that we couldn't get to. So we have a board of directors filled with children. And those children tell us what's cool.
Wow.
'Cause do you know what's hip?
I
what's
have no idea.
rad? I mean, I don't even know what the words are. They tell us what that is. And so they wanted to do lowrider cars. Well, we serve middle school kids, and we'll talk about that because it's such an important age. So they can't drive the cars. So we're doing these lowrider bicycles. And in this program, it's just like a business. All right, great. So we're going to do lowrider bicycles. So 4 months from now, you're going to build your own custom lowrider perfect for you.
That's great.
Yeah. And so you break it up into milestones. You say, well, what is the expertise that we need at each milestone? How much money are we going to have to raise? We're going to do a parade down the hall of the school with the finished product. How are we, we'll open a bank account. Amagee's got a bank right inside our schools. And, you just set up this whole exposure where they run the class. And they've never seen anything like this before.
You're empowering them. You're empowering them.
That's exactly.
Do you have any great success stories that you're real proud of that you can share?
Well,
I mean,
Patty,
we saw Jesus. He's doing great in the story. But you have many
great.
of these stories.
We do. We had a group of kids last year that wanted to play team handball. Well, we didn't have a handball instructor, and they didn't really know what handball was, but they thought that sounded really great. That group took it upon themselves to find appropriate courts. They went out and raised enough money to go to the championship. I mean, they competed. We ended up winning the statewide championship in handball. Now, okay, fine, that's a sport activity, but it's a lesson in life that you set a goal, you can achieve a goal.
What do you think makes a great entrepreneur? What are some of the skills that are you trying to teach them now as children to become entrepreneurs and to succeed?
Entrepreneurs are anybody. It's you, it's me. Anybody can be an entrepreneur. But there are certain characteristics, such as, you got to have enthusiasm.
Right, that's a big one.
We've talked about that. And you got to have a vision, a future story of where it is that we're going. And it seems to me, once you understand where it is that you want to go, destiny moves. It's almost like it's predisposed.
The universe opens up to make it happen.
And then you'll start seeing all of these opportunities that you can pull together that will allow you to get closer and closer to your goal. No, not all entrepreneurial ventures work.
Right.
Not all businesses are going to work. Not all your ideas are going to work.
Right.
But it's the journey. It's the learning experience that ends up preparing you for your next step.
Now, in Prepared for Life, you say you have a concept of having fun, failing fast, and learning faster from your values list. Explain what that means.
Patty, do you know anybody that learned to ride a bike without bleeding?
I know I bled.
Absolutely.
Right here.
It's so silly that in society today we try and teach kids not to fail. And when we do that, we teach them not to try either. What I want out of people is I want you to fail as fast as you possibly can, because that's how we learn as humans. The faster we fail, the faster we learn.
Right.
And that's what fail fast, learn faster is all about. Everybody fails, so just get over it and move on, and then you get to the successes that much faster.
Now, your goal is by the year 2016, I think it is, to get all the children. You're impacting, I don't know, you're impacting thousands, I don't know how many, but you want all the children in Houston, all the middle school children to be impacted this way. Why 2016, and how do you plan to do it?
Well, I don't know when we'll get there. I have high hopes that we will. But our children are our future. And I think what we're hoping is that Prepared for Life will be a conduit. It will be a collaboration, a rallying point for the entire community to get around serving kids to help them because they're the future of our city. And well, we specifically work in the middle schools, and that's where the 20,000 number comes from. We're going to grow systematically. It takes a lot of money to accomplish this kind of thing, and we have to produce a lot of results. There are far too many programs out there that go and raise money and say we're going to do all these wonderful things, and then you don't actually get the results. This year we were in 3 schools. Next year we're going to 6 schools. If we produce, as I'm confident that we will, the kind of results that we got in our 3 schools, now the 6 schools, we're going to move to 12 schools. From 12 we move to 24, and we're going to double our partner with HISD and what we hope will be the other ISDs all around the Houston community. We've got to work hand in hand with the great job that they're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, they've been chartered to teach children against their IQ and academics. The family has been chartered to teach all the rest of the stuff. Well, the family has changed an awful lot in the last 40 years. I mean, mom and dad, well, sometimes dad's not there, sometimes mom not there, sometimes neither one of them are there. All of them have, both parents are working, and so they are just stressed to capacity. Right. And so as a community, we need to help them do the great job because they love their kids. They want to see nothing but the best for them, and that's what we want too.
How do you know you live smart, Michael?
Patty, I don't think any of us really know if you're living smart.
That makes us smarter, not knowing.
And so first, what's the definition of smart? But for me, you have to have your own moral code. If you're serving yourself and you're serving your family and you're serving the community, like what we're doing with Prepared for Life, and you're giving back for the great things that you've received, how can you live any smarter than that? And that's how we live our lives.
That's right. And what do you think is the most important lesson you've learned from this whole experience about children, about self-worth, about success?
I think all of us want to do the right thing. But it's really hard sometimes with the media and the mixed messages and all the bad news that we're constantly bombarded with, to know what the right thing is. And oftentimes we get focused on doing what's urgent instead of what's really important. And so often I'll step back and say, what are the core problems? What are the really important things that if we address that, all the rest of it will just go away? And I've spent, as I said, 8 years searching, asking really hard questions, trying to get to the nucleus of what's the difference that we can make. And in the after-school hours for middle school kids, I mean, everybody goes through middle school, so if we can touch them all sequentially and fill their lives with experiential learning and life skills and entrepreneurship and a moral integrity that they have, well, they'll do things we never imagined could be possible.
And on that note, thank you so much, Michael Holthouse, for what you're doing and for everything and for coming today. And for more information on Michael Holthouse, you can call his office at 713-626-KIDS. That's 713-626-5437. or check the website preparedforlife.org. A great philanthropy website is charitywatch.org, and for entrepreneurs, startupjunkies.org. Please remember to visit houstonpbs.org/livingsmart for a complete resource list, and feel free to share your own experience with entrepreneurship and philanthropy. You can call us with your comments at 713-743-8513 or email us with your comments at livingsmart@houstonpbs.org. Thank you for tuning in, and always remember to live smart. And make sure you watch our next episode with teen sex educator Maribel Perez. She'll teach us exactly what to say when we need to talk about more than just the birds and the bees. I'm Patricia Gras. Have a fabulous week.